Hi guys, welcome to another pick a card on my channel. I'm Abby, your psychic strategist, and today I've picked cards for the question, what past life is currently impacting your relationship goals and how can you leverage this? Okay, so what you want to do is now just still yourself, get really clear on your intention with this reading. And then you want to feel into, is your answer in pile 1, pile 2, or pile 3? I usually always feel the best thing is you just go intuitively with your first answer. Occasionally I'll get like, it's mainly say 3, but it's a little bit of 1, or, you know, so that you can mix and match as well. Just totally go with your intuition. This is what this is all about. Just one last thing before you then go into the readings is to do with past lives. What I just really want to tell you quickly is this from the psychic perspective. Basically, since the end of 2012, absolutely the energy and the vibration totally shifted in our reality 100%. And it's also one of the many things that means is it's made it so much more accessible for everybody to start to become aware of their past lives, future lives, and interdimensional lives. Because essentially from the psychic perspective, time is happening all at the same time. Like it isn't linear even slightly. And I have a video sort of explaining the masculine energy pathway of time, which I'll leave a link to on my other channel, just in case you want to know. And then I'll also do one on the feminine energy perspective of time, because when you start working with past lives, you're working with time from sort of like a feminine energy perspective, which is completely abstract and dynamic, and it's 100% inclusive, which is why you can, and the power within this is simply this. If you change how you see the past, you can change where you're at the present and therefore your future. If you know the future, then you can start to change the present, which then changes how you see the past and all of these different things. I'll also leave a link to this video on the top 4 tips for you if you're going to go into past lives. It just goes through a few things for you to just be mindful of, because this is all about you just becoming more psychic, because we're all psychic 100%. So I'll leave a link for that. But now we will go into pile 1's reading. So cool. So hi guys, this is if you've chosen pile number 1. As always, I have the channeled message that came through, and I actually got the entire past life to do with this setup just before I'd even shuffle the cards, which is kind of good. Now let's just put out these cards first of all, and then we'll go through that. Let's just see how these want to go out. That wants to go there, here, here, this one here. Okay, cool. So literally as soon as I started shuffling, I got the past life come through. Now the way that I want to explain to you how this works is I'm not saying every single one of you have had this exact word for word past life, but what I'm saying is that the themes and the trend and the story, like the baseline story, is the past life that is currently impacting where you're at in a relationship. And then once we know that, then we can work out how you can leverage it. This also works for if you're not in a relationship, right? But your goals are to get in a relationship, or if you're in a relationship and you want it to move forward in some way, this is something to consider, okay? That's the way that we're looking at this. So basically the past life that I got coming through was, I just basically suddenly saw back in the olden days when lots of people work in the land, and there was a guy that was on the farm and he was like working in the fields or something, and then there was an accident with some form of machinery or something, and then this then made him bedbound. His then partner, or wife I would say, then had to basically care for him because he was in bed all the time basically, and this created a huge amount of frustration, tension and resentment. And as I was then shuffling the cards and pulling them out, my lips were like pursing themselves. Like, it felt really, really weird, because when I get into the readings, I just let my almost entire being get taken over by the situation, so I can really feel into it. And my lips were pursing themselves like I was needing to say something and I couldn't say something, and it was just like biting back on me saying something. So I know that that was quite a big theme going off in it. And what my guys then said to me about this situation is the root core element of this past life for all of you is the fact that roles were reversed, and they were reversed seemingly from a place of bad luck. Okay, so the accident then meant that the guy couldn't go out to work, had to be bedbound all the time. This meant that the wife then had to nurse him, but at the same time she had to try and make some income for the family. So it put a real stress on things in that kind of way. So ultimately the theme that is going off here is the fact that it's seeing things from another's perspective, basically, and doing it so much so that you actually very physically switch roles. Okay, so now let's just see. Oh, and I also got this other thing that was coming out, that like you want something, was that you were not being able to get something that you wanted, and it kept slipping through your hands. So I don't know if in that past life, like, it seemed like things were, you know, maybe he was going to get better, he was starting to get better, and then it looked like he might be able to go out back and work, and then the household could go back to normal, but then something would happen and it would put him back again. So whatever happened, you kept being constantly put back in that place where you both had to keep switching roles. One last thing I do want to say before I turn over the cards to do with past lives is you will have been many different genders, okay? Because the soul just wants to experience masculine and feminine in so many different ways. I can't tell you how many times I've been male as well as female. So just because you are in this moment a female does not mean that you are not the male in this past life, and vice versa. If you are in this moment listening to this video a male, it does not mean that in this past life you are not female. You really have to feel into this yourself, okay, and just open yourself up to it. And this might be a sort of reading that you want to have a little bit of meditation on afterwards to see if you get any more specific insight. I will of course do a wild card for you at the end so you can make this reading your own, but now let's see what's going down. So we have Embrace. It's a beautiful card, I love that. This one. We have New Moon, Beginnings. We have Communicating. Crossed over by, this is about shaking up old patterns. And we have Intense Energy. So when this card ever comes through, it just highlights all the other cards around it. Okay. Then we have Animal Instincts, the Elephant. So I don't know, also some of you might have elephant as a significant power animal or significant power animal in the relationship. Then we have third house perception, and we have Gemini, the butterfly. So this is super Gemini, because Gemini is the ruler of the third house. So we've got potency Gemini there. Also this card here with communication and the throat chakra. For me, Gemini has a real ruler of the throat chakra, and definitely about communication. So we're getting, that's really key. And also I got pursed lips, right? Like I was trying to say something but I couldn't say something. So I definitely feel there's something to do with that going on. Sorry, nails. Visca Pisces, love it. Actually have a little look at this card in a bit more detail. Because I think this is really key, because this reminds me of the feminine energy and the masculine energy, and when they come together they create this space in the middle, and there's a heart. I really felt in this past life like basically the roles were flipped, so suddenly the female went onto the male side and the male went onto the female side, and then it was how then they worked with this new dynamic. I also do know that when back in the day, nowadays masculine and feminine, like we all have different levels of masculine and feminine energy, and it's regardless of physically what we appear to be born as, okay? I mean, that's just non-relevant in terms from a psychic energetic space. But back in this past life, there would never have been that awareness. And I do also think the fact that the roles were reversed for you in this past life would have been super, super challenging, because there would have hardly been any other people within collective consciousness at that time that were successfully working with role reversals. So that always, it's almost like you were forging the way with that new way of being, and that's always a little bit more challenging, because you just got to think about like a warm path in a forest. So much easier to go through the forest when people have already been before you and it's all been like made out for you, rather than the first person walking through the forest and then you have to forge out that pathway. That's definitely also something that was going on in this past life. But that's also really quite cool, because on a soul level it will have meant that you were quite an innovator within that past life from an energetic level. So that's cool. An innovator reminds me of new beginnings as well, to be honest. So let's just see what's going on here. So then we have the Master of Secrets, which is like the Magician in Tarot. And we also have, oh nice, the Wisdom Teacher, which is like the Hermit in Tarot. So just give me a minute. Let me feel into these cards. You feel into it too. Right, so obviously we already know the past life and we know the dynamic, and that ultimately, however this played out for you, it was you were in a relationship, you were married, and then the roles got reversed, and they got reversed because of an accident that occurred. And then it was about how you two both managed to deal with that new whole setup of reversed roles. Now, what I can also tell with additional insight here is there was a massive, and also with my pursed lips, there was blocked communication. And the blocked communication led to frustration and both feeling constricted. Now, what my guides are also telling me is that if you want to know on a really esoteric level why that happened in that past life and then how it's relevant to now, is really what your souls wanted to do was understand a different perspective, right? And it wanted to understand the different perspective of the opposite sex. Now, because at that time you weren't able to express and do this whole Gemini energy about being curious and learning about another through communication, life then did something for you where it then physically put you in this situation. So it because this communication wasn't happening anyway to do with so you could explore the other's perspective, it then just slammed you into the other's perspective, because either way in that lifetime you needed to get this opposite perspective. And if you weren't able to do it through communication and the Gemini kind of thing, then it was going to have to put you in it very physically. So one of the ways that I do feel is going to be a massive leverage point for wherever you're at in your relationship status is communication is key. But it's interesting, it's not so much communicating how you feel, although that's a part of it, but it's very much more about understanding the perspective of the other person and then being able to share your perspective with them. But you're not doing it from a place of needing to get them to believe what you believe, or them needing you to believe what they believe. It's not about trying to push somebody's belief system on, because for some reason I'm feeling the Magician as like trying to enforce something. And we've actually got the Hermit over the top. And the Hermit here even says teacher. I am seeing the Hermit as the teacher. And actually in this moment, the Magician is the student. So it's kind of like whatever is going on, you need to, first of all, step into an animal instinct place. Just feel into them. See if you can feel into how they might be feeling and thinking. Because I tell you, on a soul level, we can all tap into well, any other energy outside of us, including any human being, because we're all connected energetically, and it's impossible every single thing is connected. And that's really how psychics like me work, because we understand we can tap into anything because we are actually part of it and connected to it. So basically starting to understand that concept, right? Feel into the other person, feel into their perspective. Once you start to feel like you have a genuine softening to do with them, you don't have to understand what's going on, but you just feel like you don't feel defensive to do with them, you don't feel constricted, frustrated or resistant to do with them in any way, then it's about actually opening up a bit of a communication to see if you can understand their perspective more. And this is where you also need to be curious and listen. And this is really this Gemini energy here, which is really, really important. If you are not currently in a relationship, then the way that you would activate this is you will do this through a family member or a close friend or even a close work colleague. All I know is life will bring you a situation shortly so that you can demonstrate what I've just talked about. Because remember, the whole point of this is about being able to access and understand another person's perspective without having to force your own opinion or belief system on them. It's about being curious and playful. On my See It Like a Psychic YouTube channel, I've got a video and the highest potential of the Gemini archetype. I'll leave a link for that for you there, because then it tells you more about how you can go about this type of specific communication, and it's awesome. A really quick run through would be this, that basically you're super open and curious to the other person's point of view. That then means that they become, because like for like, curious about your point of view, and then suddenly you get into a great dialogue where you're talking with each other's hearts, but then it also kind of does this cool thing of like opening up collective consciousness and then opening into cosmic consciousness, and then ideas from cosmic consciousness which are outside of normal human range start to get channeled down through both of you when you're chatting to each other, and this then gives you both massive breakthroughs about stuff. Fuck, I channeled that. I couldn't say that again even if I wanted to, but that's what you need to do with this relationship with this person, or if you're not in one, you need to do that with whoever life brings to you in a way that you can explore that, because you need to actually be able to access that space of being able to truly engage with another's perspective without needing to enforce how you feel or think about it. And that is absolutely what's going on here in a nutshell, just like boom, I know we've hit it on the head. So that's what needs to go down. So I suppose just a little bit more general as well, I could just say that, you know what, just make sure that you are communicating. Do some things to unblock your throat chakra. So there's loads of meditations that you can get from that on YouTube. You know, that's like a blue, I always see it as bright blue in the throat. And actually what I would probably say is, before you actually start having the communication or the contact with whoever this person is, if it's the person in a relationship, the person you want to be in a relationship with, or if life's just bringing you key players when you're not in a relationship so that you can access this, it can be quite good in meditation to visualize what the energy is like from your throat to their throat, right? And if you see that there's kind of like heavy energy or dark energy, you just want to start changing that into a lovely bright blue energy. And sometimes you want to do that every morning for like, I don't know, 7 days, something like that, until actually the first time you go into meditation, you can clearly either see, feel, or know, because you'll be psychic in your own way, right? And you trust that, that there's just a really amazing bright blue cord of energy from your throat to their throat. Then you know that's the perfect time to start accessing and actually properly engaging with them in this 3D reality with a conversation, because that's going to be really, really key. And it really is. I think the reason why this card is here at the top is it's embracing that other person's perspective. And I feel like this is such a soft, gentle energy, because if you look at this card, it just is peaceful. I mean, it's really peaceful, and that's kind of the space that you need to get into. And then that's just going to bring this completely new beginning to do with something, which is awesome. But like I say, that's what's going off here. So communication is key. But with that is really understanding the other person's point of view. One thing my guides are just saying is, some of you might do this thing of like, oh, well, I do communicate because I know I need to, and I've had an issue or whatever, and I do communicate, and oh, I do understand the other person's perspective. I think the thing is, there's intellectually understanding the other person's perspective, which is totally Gemini, but for some reason, because this card is here and this is here, I really feel, and this card is here, I really feel it's not just about intellectually getting that other person's perspective, it's about truly like feeling it. It's just feeling it. And so it'd be like you just really get where they're coming from, and you'll know when you do, because when you really get where somebody's coming from, my guides are saying you won't even be aware of what your opinion is to do with the situation, because you're fully absorbed in where the other person is at to do with it. That's key, and that's how you know. And actually I need to remember that. But so that's the past life that's been affecting this current relationship status that you're in, regardless of where you're at with it. And then that's also how to leverage this situation and just leverage your soul to do with relationships going forward anyway. So I'll leave the link for that Gemini highest potential. Now let me just let's pull a wild card for you. So you know how I feel about this. You're all psychic, we're all psychic. It's just about using that it's about using that skill, basically, because that's what it is. And the more you use it, the stronger it gets. So I'm just going to pull a random card for you here. This is just for you guys to interpret. Remember what I always say about psychic stuff. Like, for example, like with the magician, I read that in a very different way, because it's not about just necessarily going with what you see in the card. It's what you feel. Oh, that wants to pop out. And so that's the most important thing. When I turn it over, I'll also read out the book, because sometimes if I'm really stuck, my guides will say, read from the book and we'll tell you the important passage. So you might hear just a few words that make sense, but let's see what you get. So put this together with the rest of this reading, your situation in that past life. And we have here, learning. That's cute. And there's a little ladybird there. I love that. So what I would also advise you, my guides are saying, is, guys, go and Google the power animal ladybird, because that's going to have some relevance to do with this whole entire thing. But now let me just read what it says here. So it says, learning. As humans, we are perpetually learning and growing. Learning to handle emotions comes from attentiveness. Managing stress, anxiety, and anger is a learned skill. Understand what sets off your distress or anger. Choose how you will respond to your triggers more effectively. Persist with this approach until it becomes an automatic response. You may feel you are resistant to learning the lesson at hand. The reason for resistance vary. It may be stubbornness, habit, or a self-destructive pattern. During times of conflict, your lesson may be more crisis-orientated. You may be in denial about something in your life. It can be hard to face your fears and admit weakness. Issues may build to a point where you need to address your reactions. Be honest with yourself. Are you in an addictive cycle? Are you accepting responsibility for your role in this situation? You may need an outside source to help you break out of a pattern. Once you recognise an unhealthy pattern, you can learn how to improve your existing situation. Try new approaches and be open to not knowing what will happen next. Ask to learn this lesson with grace. A child holds a single stalk of wheat with a ladybird on it. Wheat denotes the use of caution and wisdom. The child studies the ladybird to learn what she is going to do. The ladybird represents delight and a knowing that cannot be taught. Can you remember how you were as a child? Children are often able to create exactly what they want through positive thinking, resourcefulness, and persistence. Throughout life, you have learnt to doubt and fear. Be like a child, willing to learn and in awe of the world around you. The butterflies in this picture are symbols of transformation. If you're willing to work on this situation, transformation is inevitable. The prevalence of green means healing and abundance are not far from you. Cool. So guys, totally make that your own. Meditate on it if you need, and totally check out the video on the highest potential of the Gemini archetype, because I really feel that will help you with this situation. So with this, I'd totally love to hear any comments about, I don't know, any additional insight you get to do with the past life or what it meant for you on a deeper level. That would be really cool and interesting. But definitely work on that throat chakra, because that's going to unlock some awesome things. And actually, I've just noticed here as well, they've got butterfly wings on. That's cool. So lots of transformation. So cool. See, that's gone to now pile number 2. So this is for you guys that chose pile number 2. As always, I have the channeled message when I was shuffling, and I actually got the entire past life. Or actually, for you guys, I didn't get the full past life, but I got the main parts of it. So we'll find out with the cards what's going down next. And let me just decide which order I feel these need to go out in. Because I do feel like how they come out explains a lot about the story too on a deeper level. Yep. Put this like this. This like this, this. So let me just move all of this up so you guys can see it all. So just before I start this, regards to the past life, and I mentioned this in the other videos as well, is because there's quite a lot of you here, I'm getting a very specific past life. A lot of you will have had this, or you'll have had the exact same baseline theme to the story play out, and that is the past life story that's currently impacting your relationship status currently. This works whether you're in a relationship or not, going through difficulties or not. There's going to be something that you can take from this that can leverage your situation further, and we'll get the leverage point out through the cards for sure, and obviously a bit more of the past life. So with you guys, this was the thing. It was a little bit different to what I had expected. And I saw so many children. And at first I wasn't really sure what was going on. And then I suddenly realised, oh, you were an orphan in this past life. And you had this real thing of feeling always so lonely. Even in a crowd of people, you just felt lonely. And I did really get this whole, I got so much sadness. I really, really felt like a very, very deep, like heart-centered sadness when I was like shuffling the cards. And I mean, and it was really noticeable. Like it took me back a little bit, just like how sad and lonely this past life was. And then I also got the words of isolation and cold and worthless, that was a big theme that was coming out. So let's just see what we get furthermore from the cards, and then we'll go into it even more. So, right, we get the card winter. That's automatically making me think of the isolation. Cold as well, I even got cold. How it was making me feel. Oh, so nice. Then we get happiness, dolphins. This is good. Abundance. And then what do we get here? Grounding. I love how that's gone from difficult to better to better. And let's see these ones here. So then we have Wise Fox, Six of Pentacles in neither up nor down position, and Three of Cups. And then we have Intuition card. Ooh, that's almost like the Tower card in tarot. And then this one, Leo, the Lover. Great, so just give me a moment just to feel into all of these energies. Please you do the same too. Make this reading your own. Okay, so well, instantly my guys are just saying, right, so the thing was, brought up in an orphan, as an orphan, never felt worthy enough, always felt lonely no matter what was going off. And although that was and what they're actually saying is that was a perspective point of view that you went into, because not all of the children in the orphanage felt the same, because some of the children were able to tap into the community spirit of the orphanage and leverage that situation and make them work and make it work for them. But you were somebody that had a very, very huge big heart, but it was a huge delicate heart. Do you know how they often say, like, the people with the biggest hearts put the most protection around them? And that was absolutely something that you did do in that past life, and I do feel like you're doing that in this current situation, however it is. So no matter how much you have opened up and you do feel like you're being vulnerable, my guys are like saying there's like 60% more vulnerability that you can go with on this, and that it is safe to do it. I'm also getting as well that in that past life, although you had this really interesting thing, because you got brought up in an environment which you personally took on board as feeling like lonely, super sad, cold, isolated, like you weren't good enough. But because you actually did have such a massive heart, interestingly enough, your aura was actually very, very powerful and very, very loving, and it drew lots of people and situations to you, like with the abundance card, and like just the way they all got set out. Like, look, Leo, the lover, is right in the beginning, and all of this energy is crowding around it. And the thing about the Leo, and I've got a video about this, the highest potential of the Leo archetype, which I think would be useful for you guys, I'll leave a link, is in its highest potential, it loves itself so much, just from a genuine place of appreciation for itself, that it becomes magnetic, because essentially its energy field is humming and sparkling, and that just draws many people to the Leo person that's in the highest potential, because it's almost like a magnet. When somebody's just really vivacious within themselves, it draws people to them. Now, you in this past life unconsciously were able to do that, but just not because you really felt particularly good about yourself, just because you just generally had this really amazing open heart that people felt drawn to, even though the irony is it was that very open heart that actually made you feel so isolated as well, because you felt so vulnerable, because this heart was so massive. It just desperately wanted even more love than that was currently available at the time, and because it didn't feel like it received it, it then sort of shut itself down physically, although energetically your aura still remained big. So the funny thing is, in that past life, 6 of Pentacles, 3 of Cups, you had many people gravitating to you. You've got the happiness card, abundance card, but you know what, this card here, this isn't making me feel like the Tower card now that I see it. Now that my guides are telling me all of this, there's just, you were hiding. You spent that past life hiding away, which then actually reinforced the fact that you felt lonely, even though you had this massive heart and this super attractive aura that attracted so many people into you, but you literally like couldn't even acknowledge that that was happening. So I guarantee, therefore, like I say, what's currently happening in whatever relationship status that you're in is that you just need to be more vulnerable. And my guide says you can be 60% more vulnerable than what you are doing, and that it is completely safe to open up your heart. That also, I think it's about you understanding that you do have this really powerful magnetic aura that people do love. And the very thing they love about it is the fact that you are so compassionate, and that they can feel that you can feel how they're really feeling. And that is just, it's an automatic like connection point between human beings. So you might actually find that actually people can be really get connected to you very, very quickly. Even people like friends or work colleagues, or you might even find people just like to chat to you at the bus stop or stuff like that, just because you have this energy. And it's about you realizing that it's really safe for you to step into that and to almost like consciously open up with that now, because it's kind of like and my guides are giving me this metaphor, and it's really funny because one of my somebody that I know has told me that Leos often have big hair. It's like the mane, and what my guides are saying to me, it's like, you guys are like this. you got this amazing hair, right? It's absolutely amazing. You don't really comb it, you don't really wash it, you just stick it up or whatever, but people still comment on what amazing hair you have. And then occasionally when you do properly wash it and brush it and all the rest of it, people are just like, oh my God, your hair is incredible. And you're like, oh, and then you feel like you want to hide away again. You don't want people to comment on your hair. So then once again, you don't look after it and all the rest of it. But the point is, but you still have that hair, so people still do get attracted to you. And what my guides are saying is that actually now is the time for you to consciously decide, I am brushing my hair, I'm washing my hair, I'm actually letting my hair be the amazing hair that it is, and I'm just going to enjoy people coming to me and wanting to communicate to me about my hair. Now remember, that's a metaphor. I'm not saying this is your hair, it's not, but what I'm saying is this is your energy field, right? This is about you truly wanting to open up and share that energy. And when you do that, that's going to improve whatever the relationship status is, whoever you're in a relationship with or who you're not, if you're wanting to attract a relationship, whatever. And it's really going to happen, I feel, quite quickly with this card here. And also with the Three of Cups here. And look, actually, in this Three of Cups, I don't know if you can see, there's even kind of like a lion there. And Leo is the lion, and the lion has the mane, okay? So it's kind of like, and the lion's coming out of the cauldron, so it's kind of like you've got a great point to like transform what's going off right now. And I can see here the sun and the moon, and this is making me think that you need to just embrace all of you, the masculine parts of you, the feminine parts of you, and just bring it all really together, and it will allow you to build something very different within your relationships. But that is how you leverage this situation, okay? You absolutely have to just be, well, just to be honest, just number one, just take on board like what I've said, that you do have this awesome energy, that people are completely attracted to you, and it's just about you, just enjoy it, you know, just totally enjoy it. Enjoy being a magnet, and just realize that, you know, because sometimes it might feel like, whoa, if I'm attracting lots of stuff, this is going to be stressful for me, or like I might attract people that are not going to be helpful to me, because you do have this fear thing. And there is still, at the very beginning of this entire spread, the first thing that came out was the Winter card. You do have a limiting belief somewhere to do with the fact that you shining and being your true self is actually, it's almost going to cause more pain. I mean, I don't understand how, but obviously you do feel that on a really deep subconscious level. And it's actually just realizing that that is not the truth. And I think just slowly play around with something. So we can start with something really just simple, like, I don't know, anything that you know that people usually get drawn to you by, because for all of you it'll be different things. Just try and slightly, consciously enhance that part of you, or if it's something that you talk about that people love, just start bringing that up a bit more in conversations. Just start slow with something so that you can gradually ease yourself into it. Because also when you have a big heart but it feels vulnerable, the last thing you want to do is to just suddenly shock it into trying to do something very different. Just slowly build some steps up. So my guides are saying, like, think of like 8 to 10 different things that you know that people get really attracted to you about. It could be partly how you look, what you wear, what you talk about, I don't know, anything, right? Anything like that. Write down at least 8 to 10, and then just slowly start to just slowly, consciously activate those in conversations, or when you go out, do that with your, I don't know, clothes, or what the hell, whatever it might be, okay? And just start to see the response, and I think you will be massively pleasantly surprised. And also, obviously, in a relationship, just say thanks to the compliments that you get and things like that, because I feel like you guys are probably the people that actually shy away from the compliments you're given by your partner if you're in a relationship. The thing is, if you do that, your partner over time starts to think that you don't also appreciate them and their gestures of love for you, and that can also cause a blockage. So just think about that too. But now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull, whoa, a wild card for you guys. This is just for you guys to interpret, because you know, wow, we're all flipping out here. One sec, let me get that. Because you know how I feel, we're all psychic. You guys are definitely psychic if you're aware of past lives and clicked on this. And it's just about you tapping into that kind of ability a little bit more. I would recommend that you obviously look at the Leo Highest Potential video. I will leave a link. Oh wow, they're all flying out. And what else was I going to say? And that you just also meditate on this a little bit. See if you can feel into that past life a little bit. See if you get more information about how it played out for you. Now when this card comes out, just trust with whatever you feel. It doesn't even matter if it's something very different to what the card says. You just go with what you feel. That is key. So this is your card. And then I'll read out in the book to you what it says. So let's see. Choice. Oh, nice. So feel into the picture. Feel into the word. See what just automatically comes up for you. Taking on board what we said about the past life and the orphanage, feeling lonely, and then this whole entire spread and the Leo energy. So now it says, somewhere along the way you have given up your right to decide. This can happen for many reasons. You may have quit making choices under the pretext of being agreeable or putting someone else's needs before your own. It may be that decision making is too overwhelming right now. You have so many options. Each choice you make can take you closer or further from your desires, so it is imperative that you start exercising your power of choice. If you feel confused about a decision, evaluate what is going on. Come up with a list of possible outcomes. Make your list as long and elaborate as you need. Ask yourself what is blocking your ability to decide. Are you trying to please someone else? Are you afraid of making a wrong choice? Choosing not to decide is a choice. Decide to make healthy choices that meet your needs and desires. A fairy blows iridescent bubbles filled with possibilities. Bubbles represent hope, wishes, dreams, and the array of choices you have in front of you. Bubbles may also indicate a need to raise awareness, as there are extraordinary moments of magic appearing to you. The bubbles also represent happiness, amusement, and the innocence of childhood. The castle in one bubble represents your home or feelings of safety and security. The Pegasus is a symbol for rising above difficulties. The Pegasus is a guardian. Its appearance here is an acknowledgement that you are supported in your resolve. Once you begin to make choices for yourself, it will become easier and easier to choose what you love. Awesome. So I hope that went well. I'll leave links. I'm also on Instagram on Abigail Grace 2311, so please follow me there. I post tarot, astrology, psychic stuff, past life stuff, a whole range of things. But cool, just go and meditate with that and enjoy your own energy, because honestly, it's pimping. I can just tell from all of the other cards around here. It's awesome. And people do want to stare. And you know what? Let them. Just enjoy. Enjoy. So cool. Now we'll go on to pile 3. So hi guys, this is pile number 3, if you chose this one. As always, we have the channeled message, and I pretty much got a lot of the past life coming through on this instantly. So we'll go through that. But now let me just see how we want to put these cards out. Oh yeah, you guys will want the only pile that when I was shuffling, one flipped out the right way up, so I always keep it like that. And actually it went really well with what I channeled before, but I'll go through that in a moment. Let's just see how they feel these should get put out, because I do feel that how they come out all tells a story too. These two come here. I feel like it's crossed by this. I feel they go like that one underneath. Cool. So first thing I want to tell you, like I told everybody else to do with the past life, is because obviously I'm channeling for a whole range of you, the specific past life that I'm getting will be that for many of you, but also what we're really talking about is the baseline of the story. So like the archetype of the story and the archetype of the characters involved. This is categorically going to be like to do with the past life that is most influencing your relationship dynamics currently. Whether you're single, in a relationship or not, this is the dynamic that's most influencing where you're at to do with it. Okay, so I'll tell you how I got it out, and then you want to think about how that could be in different types of ways, and probably in meditation you'll be able to get the very precise way that it is for you. But so basically with this pile what I got was well, actually, to be honest, before I even got the vision, I just got all of these feelings and words and stuff, which was, and this is weird for me because I'm a feeler, but it was like total emotional detachment, and it felt bizarre, but like complete emotional detachment was in this past life. And then there was like a real defiance and obstinance. And then like the vision that I saw was, I basically saw a king and queen that were in an organized marriage that was for other people's gain, and neither the king nor the queen gained from this arrangement. It only caused a whole load of basically resentment, and it was super intense, and you were both super pissed off, not necessarily to do with each other, but to do with the situation that you'd both been put in. My mind was so scattered while these cards were coming out. I kind of like forgot where I was at to do with the cards, and I got the feeling that, you know, in this past life, so much of your energy was put into feeling like completely pissed off about the situation that others had put you into for their gain and not your own. It's almost like people disregarding you and pushing you into a situation that you did not want, that it kind of like took over you, and it actually became quite a revenge kind of feeling that you had to do with this entire type of situation. So what I do want to just say is, it might not have been that you were king and queen, but what I do really feel is that in some way you were put into an arranged marriage, and it was an arranged marriage that was something that it was useful for other people, but it wasn't useful for either you or the person that you were married to, and you really felt defiant about this. So now let's just see what's going on with the cards so we can get more information and then work out how you leverage it, and how it's impacting your relationships at the moment. So at the top, oh nice, we have Summer, love that card. Oh, and we have Infinite Potential. Okay, and then crossing over it is the Seven of Cups. It's an interesting interpretation of the Seven of Cups. So a man and a woman, and between them obviously is like a massive wall. That's definitely what the arranged marriage felt like, and like the complete emotional detachment. But let's just go on further, see what we get. So here we get peace. We get channeling. Nice. Sorry, my nails too long, can't pick them up. Community. That is beautiful. I want to go with these. Then we get Sagittarius the Voyager. Mars action in reverse. That was the one that flipped out. Opposition. And then let's see what we get here. Unity in reverse. And the creativity, expression, and freedom card in reversed. So just give me a moment while I feel into these energies. You also feel into them too. And let's just see what additional information we can get. Okay, so I'm really getting in this pile that this past life definitely left a sour taste in your mouth to do with long-term commitments and relationships. And what I really feel though is, like, we got the Summer card and the Infinite Potential card. They're two super positive, inspiring, creative cards in this deck. But then it's being overlaid by the Seven of Cups, which is usually emotional confusion. But obviously in this, I just feel like this is that emotional detachment I was talking about. These two people could be in union, but instead all they can see is not each other, and they certainly can't see each other's hearts and energy fields. All they see is the brick wall between both of them. And I do feel like this is a block to things progressing within your relationship status, and I do really feel there's something to do with long-term commitments that's going off here. If you feel that you're somebody that is a long-term committer, but you're getting involved with people that are not into long-term commitments, then just realise that they are just showing you and reflecting a mirror back to you, but it's at a very deep unconscious level of you. So there's an unconscious part of you that isn't aware that you are not currently open to long-term commitments in romantic ways. And I do feel like this is coming from this experience you had in this past life. So obviously you can totally and utterly change that. That's no problem. And I do really think this is kind of what this talks about here, because this really is about just meditating, going into the concept of how you would feel in that situation. So if you're not somebody that can psychically start to feel into a past life, don't worry. This is the past life that it's relevant to. So now in meditation, what you can do is just start to Make it like a thought experiment almost. Imagine yourself as somebody that's been put in a situation where they're forced to marry somebody against their will, and see how that makes you feel. How does it make you think? Then imagine how you would be in that relationship. Then imagine how you would feel about the people around you that forced you into that relationship. That's how you can start to get into that storyline and help unearth those deep-seated feelings that you've suppressed. When those feelings start to come up, then obviously you can just start to do whatever you need to do to release them, and just realize that, for example, that really was from a very long time ago, and that does not need to happen now. So one of the ways that I would suggest that you do this is, as you start releasing the ideas to do with that story, see it as, my guides are saying, see it as grey black energy coming out of your heart, and see that energy coming all the way down your body, out through the soles of your feet and into the earth. From a shamanic point of view, the earth, Pachamama, as she's called, always absorbs heavy energy, because for her it's like manure. She can use that to then re-fertilise her land. But obviously for us as humans, it's not good for us, as it wouldn't be great for us to have manure, right? So what you want to do is just visualise that heavy energy coming out of your heart, and it coming all the way down the body, out through the soles of your feet, and then into the earth. And Pachamama will receive that. Wait until you feel like it's all gone, and then when it's gone, the first thing you need to do is start thinking about how it would feel to be in a loving, awesome marriage, long-term commitment, where you know somebody was always there for you, you were always there for them. You got to like grow and build in so many different ways. You got to know somebody on a deeper level. You got to see them know you. Just whatever is amazing for you to do with a long-term connection. Start to think about all of those things. It will be different for all of you, right? So go with what is right for you. Then once you've got all of those things out, you then want to think, what colour does that relate to with you? So I don't know what colours that might be, but choose a colour, and then you want to see energy coming in from the centre of the cosmos all the way down your head into your heart, and it's that colour. Let that colour go around all of your cells, DNA, mitochondria. Imagine breathing it in and breathing it out. So you're breathing that colour into all of your body, and then you're breathing it out and sharing it with your environment, and then you're breathing it in again and you're breathing it out again. And the truth is, you probably want to do that process. You know what, you've had this belief for a long time, right? So you might even want to do it for a month, right? You want to do it every other day for a month. And you know what, by the end of that month, I guarantee you'll start to feel different. Then my guides are saying it's probably really useful for some of you that are people that read, is find some books about emotionally committing. If you're somebody that's more on YouTube, likes to listen to stuff, find something on YouTube to do with that. Play around with those concepts. Also for some of you, if you've had parents that have been in committed relationships and it has not been successful, either they've stayed together but they've not been in love, or they have separated, so it's left kind of another, it's reinforced what you see as emotional detachment within long-term commitments. You just also want to maybe look at releasing that in some ways. So you can see a therapist for that. You can do that in meditation. You know, there's so many different things that you can do with that, but that's totally something that you could work with. Okay, and I do really see that with this meditation card here and this channeling card here, and also community, right? Transformation. And I see community as also you getting outside support with this in whatever way that might be. Like I say, it could even just be reading a book, listening to a podcast. It might be seeing a healer. It could be anything, right? You will know. Sometimes it's even just having this communication with somebody outside of you that you know loves and cares for you. It can be anything like that, right? But that's absolutely how you leverage this situation, because that's the thing that's coming between you enhancing wherever you're at to do with a relationship status, whether that's currently single or in a relationship and it needing to go further, or in a relationship and it's getting difficult, whatever, that's how that's working. I do also really feel... you do have a limiting belief, which is something around the fact that when you collaborate with others on an emotional level, your freedom is restricted. You lose something. So basically, you have some sort of belief system that means that when you intimately connect with somebody on an emotional level, you lose something. And that is just a limiting belief set up from this past life where that dynamic was involved. What is really cool actually is if you do decide to work through this with somebody, either a therapist or talk to a friend or do whatever you might do, you'll actually be starting to change that limiting belief, right? Because by you involving another in your journey to do with helping you emotionally connect more to a long-term commitment, you will actually see that you'll start to gain so much more freedom within yourself, and then situations in your life change, and then your relationship status changes, and then it will become like the self-fulfilling prophecy of the fact that when you actually collaborate with another and are very open and vulnerable about how you feel, great things happen. So I actually do really feel for this pile, that's a really important process, is actually working with somebody else to work through this limiting belief and say like this past life kind of vibe. And I do really think you'll be able to do transformation pretty rapidly, because look at all, don't know if you can see this, but look at all these butterflies. There is loads of them, and they're coming in between rainbow rays. So that almost makes me feel like harmony, and I feel like it's close. I don't feel like this will take you long. I really, really don't. And also I think here, it's kind of like resist. I really think the advice here with Mars in reversed is resist like the desire to build a wall. Resist the desire to build a wall. So that's the other thing. What you need to do to help leverage this situation is, in whatever way, if you're currently in a relationship, don't build any blocks. Don't. So where you would usually like want to shut down communication, or you'd want some space for them, resist the urge, and just know that in this moment that you're resisting the urge and you're staying open, you're helping to knock down that wall, which is totally what you need to do. If you decide to block communication, or to sort of like, I don't know, punish that person in some way by not kind of being so open to them, just know that you're adding bricks to that wall, which is just them playing into that old story, which then also just sets off this limiting belief about when you collaborate with somebody on an emotional level, you lose your freedom. So you just want to do whatever you can to start to disprove that belief. So one of the things would be, when you would usually want to push away from somebody on an emotional level, stay open. Another thing could be, like I say, sharing this story and this journey with a healer or somebody outside of you that can support you, or a friend that you do trust, something like that. That could be really, really important. I think also I always like, my guides always tell me, just do shit on a small level, right? You don't always have to do the big stuff. So even in tiny little things, if you're let's say on the tube and you can see that somebody is kind of like, I don't know, looks a bit sad, maybe you just want to be like, oh hey, how are you? Just that little opening up, right? So whereas usually you'd keep the wall between you and that person on the tube, this time you just take a little brick off and just say hi. Do you know what I mean? You can do things on a really, really small level, which over time will also help to get rid of this limiting belief and take all the charge out of this past life. And the belief that in some way, when you emotionally commit to somebody, or when you're emotionally open to somebody, then actually ultimately all you get is just resistance and just complete emotional detachment. Because honestly, that's a complete illusion. Because if we remove that card out of the way, you then literally have this amazing card here. I love the colours on this. Summer's Day in a Park. I mean, who's not down for that? And you also have unlimited potential. So once you get rid of this, and I'm going to flick it, once you get rid of this, you can then create whatever you want in that space, right? And ultimately the universe and your spirit guides and your soul is even like, now we're down for a good time, right? It's now time for a great time in long-term committed relationships. If you're up for it, we're up for it. That's what life's saying. But the thing is, ultimately, as always, the choice is yours. And it is about, I think you need to explore this new avenue, right? Because also Sagittarius is quite interesting. Sometimes Sagittarius has this real thing about freedom, and so can find it difficult to commit to things. And I don't just mean people, I mean situations or whatever, because they want to keep exploring, try something new. But actually what you need to try and do is explore deeper aspects with another person, because that will also bring you to something new. Like, you don't need to think that like things can get stagnant as well if you're with the same situation or person, or I don't know why I'm saying this, even job, right? Whatever, that's not true, because all it is it just means now you need to go deeper, and you always go deeper by opening up more to a new aspect of that situation or that person, and then that will then take you to something new. Okay, And that seems a bit random with the rest of it, but obviously, whoa, it makes sense. And clearly there's quite a lot of energy in that, because that flipped out of my hand. So my guides are saying that's really, really important. Get the concept that you can still always explore and have new experiences with the same person, or whatever it is, the same relationship, or whatever it might be, just by opening up and going deeper within what is already there. I really feel that's potent and powerful, because I just do. So please take that on board. But cool, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to shuffle a card for you guys. This is for you guys to do your own wild card, because you know, I just know you guys are all psychic. You definitely are if you're aware, you're like interested in past lives. When the card comes out, you just want to take your own interpretation on it, and kind of like what this makes you feel. Even if the words are very different, you always go with what you feel. And I do also recommend with this one anyway, that what you want to do is you want to you really just want to look at that limiting belief about believing in some way that commitment is going to restrict you. You're going to lose freedom. I think that's really, really important for you to have a look at. And let's just see. So this card is coming out. So, self-love. Oh, nice card. Love the stag. Okay, so I'm just going to read it out, and then you just go with whatever you feel with everything else that we've talked about here, what this personally means for you on a deeper level. So it says, you might be feeling downhearted or melancholy because you haven't fully grasped how to appreciate who you are. The ability to truly love yourself complements your capacity to fall in love with others and the world as a whole. Self-love means acknowledging the light within you. You are a sacred part of the mystery and miracle of life. Perhaps you have struggled to rally esteem, respect, or love for who you are. Maybe you are looking outside of yourself for validation. You may expect friends, family, a partner, co-workers, or your bank account to prove you with your sense of self-worth. This expectation leads to illusion. The truth of who you are is inside you always. You are unique, you have your own process, and you need to be yourself. Quiet your mind and go within to find your self-esteem, awareness, and inner peace. This will lead you away from worry, judgment, and mistrust. As you learn to expand the quiet periods in your mind, you will begin to be more in your heart, where you will recognize truth, intuition, and acceptance. This maiden hugs herself in an act of self-love. Her nakedness emphasizes her vulnerability in the process she is going through. The stag supports time taken alone. The lionfish encourages you to face your inner demons. With the help of the lionfish, you can stand strong and face whatever you might have been hiding from. Work on loving yourself a little more each day. You deserve to love yourself more. Cool. So I hope that was useful. Like I say, please meditate on that, get the deeper meaning for you. And like I say, if you can't access the past life, don't even worry. Then just start to play in meditation with the concept of how you would feel in the past life that I have described, like the feelings and thoughts you would get, and then work through that kind of like random self-healing thing that I just told you that you could do, because I definitely just channeled that from my guides. I just got that in the moment, so I feel like that's important. But cool. I'm also on Instagram on Abigail Grace 2311, so please follow me there. I do loads of posts on astrology, tarot, psychic stuff, shamanic tools, I don't know, just that whole kind of shizzle. So definitely come and see me over there. And also in the comments, let me know like if you got any insights about the past life and this kind of thing, because it's so cool when you start to be able to access these past lives. Because honestly, from a psychic perspective, like where we are all in like our consciousness as a collective, we have all had a shit ton of past lives, and actually they're all starting to become almost very multidimensional and really impacting our present and our future now. So the more you can start becoming aware of them, the more you can use them to facilitate where you're actually at, like by realizing the limiting beliefs that they gave you and what you can do to transform them. It's so cool. I friggin' love it. So cool. I hopefully see you on some videos again soon. Cool. Bye.